And also remind everybody that it is going to be broadcast live, and you can watch it on replay at a later date. Tonight's invocation will be given by Joanne Estrada, our administrative specialist, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. We were going to have a couple students. They didn't show up, so she graciously allowed us to just continue to the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Well, we start with invocation.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
yes. Dear Lord, we give you thanks for the opportunity to serve our community. May we approach our responsibilities with open minds and committed hearts. May our deliberations tonight be guided by fairness, integrity, and respect for one another. Help us to see beyond differences, to seek understanding, and to always act for the good of all who call this town our home. Grant us wisdom in our decisions, patience in our discussions, and unity in our purpose. Amen.
Amen. And magically, we have people appearing. So welcome McKenna and Han, and whenever you're ready.
Okay. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for being here. Tonight we have a few presentations. I'll also be beginning with a proclamation for April 11th through the 17th as the Week of the Young Child. Representatives from First Things First were unable to attend this evening, so accordingly I hereby proclaim the week of April 11th through the 17th in the town of Sahuarita as the Week of the Young Child. And then we move to our 2025 Employee Appreciation Awards. Nathan Barrett, already at the microphone over there, our Deputy Community Development Director, will present the 2025 Town of Sahuarita Employee Appreciation Awards. And if my colleagues would join me down on the floor. And our town manager.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have the honor of presenting the 2025 Employee Appreciation Awards, marking our third year of presenting these four special awards. These awards recognize the hard work, dedication, and exceptional contributions of our team members who consistently go above and beyond in their roles. Each of these awards serves as a reminder of the impact our employees have on the success of our organization, community, and the positive difference they make in our workplace culture. The four awards being presented tonight are the Saguaro Award, the Santa Cruz Award, the Sahuarita Award, and the B. Sahuarita Award. The two B. Sahuarita Awards honor an individual and a team who consistently exceed expectations and contribute meaningfully to our town's success. Their outstanding performance and dedication bring pride to their department and to the entire community. B. Sahuarita is more than just a phrase. It reflects our shared commitment to the community we serve. Today's recipients embody the passion and energy that help Sahuarita grow and thrive. The B. Sahuarita Awards celebrate our collective effort to build a brighter future for the residents who call this place home. The Saguaro Award for Teamwork and Cooperation is presented to an individual who is generous and caring toward their team members and always goes above and beyond to help their coworkers. The Santa Cruz Award for Dependability is presented to an individual that can always be counted on when assistance is required. This employee consistently proves to be reliable by giving 110% no matter the task they are called on to perform. The Sahuarita Award for Responsiveness is presented to an individual who responds immediately to a perceived need and excels in responding to the requirements of their job with swiftness, enthusiasm, and sensitivity. Nominations for these awards are submitted on behalf of the employees by their colleagues and coworkers. To be nominated for such an award by one's peers is truly a testament to the positive impact that these individuals have made in the lives of those they work and serve. So, without further ado, we will announce and recognize the winners of the 2025 Employee Appreciation Awards. As your name is called, please walk to the front of the room here on the right-hand side, greet the council members, and receive your award. The Saguaro Award for Teamwork and Cooperation is presented to Bianca Quijada, the Management Assistant in the Town Manager's Department. Bianca is one of the hardest working and most reliable people in the building. She is always approachable, always kind, and always happy to help no matter how busy she is. She takes care of everyone, staff, department heads, the town manager, the mayor, and council members alike. She is a teammate in every sense of the word and someone who consistently lifts others up simply by being who she is. Bianca, thank you for your service. The Santa Cruz Award for Dependability is presented to Nicole Serene, Permits Compliance Coordinator in the Parks and Recreation Department. Nicole demonstrates a strong work ethic, approaches every task with motivation, and takes pride in her accomplishments. She is a model of consistency, always stepping up to the plate to solve problems and taking the initiative to overcome obstacles to ensure the job gets done effectively. Nicole's reliable initiative and commitment to excellence makes her an indispensable asset and an inspiration to all staff members. Nicole, thank you for your service. The Ciarita Award for Responsiveness is presented to Lily Robinson, Marketing Coordinator in the Parks and Recreation Department. Lily is an employee you can count on at any time. She proactively anticipates the needs of her team and always has the necessary resources readily available. She routinely demonstrates her commitment to town-wide efforts by assisting other departments through the timely development of essential flyers, advertising materials, and engaging promotions across social media platforms. Lily is truly vital to her department and a model of helpful, dependable responsiveness for the entire town staff. Lily, thank you for your service. The B. Sahuarita Team Award is presented to our technology division, consisting of Ronald Bishop, Jorge Rodriguez, Becky Pollard, and Daniel Ortega. On the morning of August 25th, 2025, the town of Sahuarita faced a potentially catastrophic cybersecurity threat. The scope and nature of the alerts suggested a coordinated and targeted cyber attack with the potential to compromise sensitive personal data and disrupt town operations. Over the following days, the team worked tirelessly with partners to conduct deep forensic analysis. Despite the initial indicators of ransomware and C2 activity, the investigation ultimately found no evidence of successful exploitation or data exfiltration. The Technology Division's swift and strategic response prevented what could have been a devastating breach of town systems and sensitive data. Technology Division, thank you for your service. The B. Sahuarita Individual Award is presented to Aaron Medina, Detective Sergeant. Sergeant Aaron Medina has consistently shown exceptional dedication and leadership while supervising the Criminal Investigations Bureau. Throughout the year, he has worked long hours, responded to numerous on-call incidents and call-outs, and regularly taken on overtime assignments, including Stone Garden operations. Despite this demanding schedule, Sergeant Medina always maintains a high level of professionalism and remains fully committed to supporting the mission of the Sahuarita Police Department. Sergeant Medina, thank you for your service. We also wish to acknowledge the many other great employees who are nominated for one or more of these awards. As mentioned earlier, each of these employees were nominated for an award by one of their coworkers or peers. Nominees for the Saguaro Award for Teamwork and Cooperation included Deanna Hamburger, Dustin Sinclair, Elise Duran, John Garcia, Nathan Barrett, and Carlos Suarez. Nominees for the Santa Cruz Award included Idalis Moyet, Brandon Massey, Carmen Tena, Lauren Connell, Krista Norris, Sutarat Jen Chartier, and Sergio Burgos. Nominees for the Cigarrito Award included A.C. Mariotti, Mark Felix, and Becky Pollard. And nominees for the B. Sahuarita Individual Awards included Liliana Soto, Manny Alvarez, Sue Lewandowski, and John Garcia. We would also like to acknowledge the nominees for the B. Sahuarita Team Award, which included the Building Safety Team, the Court Clerks, the Finance Department, the Sahuarita Water Reclamation Facility staff, and the Human Resources Department. Please join me in giving a round of applause to each of these amazing people.
Mayor, if I could, just a point of privilege. If I could have those, our B. Sahuarita Award recipients come back forward to the front, both the individual and the team members. Can you come up just for a second? Did they leave already? Where's the IT team? There they come. They don't like the spotlight, the IT folks. Come on back in here. Yeah, I know. If you could just stand up here next to the mayor and council, that'd be great. Mayor, thanks for affording me this opportunity. Challenge coins are a long-standing tradition used to recognize service, commitment, and shared purpose. Originating in the military and adopted by civic organizations, challenge coins are small symbolic tokens to express gratitude and respect. In the town of Sahuarita, leaders share challenge coins as a personal gesture when someone they interact with has made a meaningful contribution to the town as its community. Coins may be given to residents, volunteers, partners, staff, or visitors whose actions reflect service, inspire collaboration, and result in a positive impact on Sahuarita. As recipients of the town of Sahuarita's highest employee honor, the B. Sahuarita Award, it is fitting to present each of you with a challenge coin. This award recognizes your outstanding contributions through leadership, innovation, problem solving, and achieving meaningful results that positively impact the town. Your dedication and commitment to exceeding expectations truly reflect the spirit of Sahuarita, and this coin serves as a small token of that recognition and appreciation. So I'd like to give each of you a challenge coin. Thank you for your service. Thank you. Appreciate your service. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Daniel, thank you. Aaron, thank you. Thank you.
Well, congratulations all, and as you saw by the screen afterwards, not only did we have a lot of deserving award winners, but we had so many different submissions from across our whole organization. So that was, just awesome spread throughout our community and our town staff, so really appreciate that. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll, please?
Councilmember Gillespie.
Here.
Councilmember Lisk. Absent. Councilmember Lytle.
Here.
Councilmember Morales. Absent. Councilmember Priolo.
Here.
Vice Mayor Egbert.
Here.
Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you. And I know Debbie was trying to audio in. Have we not been successful? I actually just saw a text, I'm not able to connect. So if we can maybe work on that, we'll continue. IT, they just were award winner. But we'll see if we can work on that, and then but I'll continue. Next is call to the public. The call to the public is now open. Individuals may speak for 3 minutes, spokespersons for 10. Please note the advocacy for candidates or ballot measures are prohibited by law. The council cannot discuss matters not on the agenda. However, at the end of the call to the public, council members may respond to criticism, request staff to review the issue, or add the topic to a future agenda. I have two. Kevin Walton.
I got shot.
Good evening.
You could tell the IT people. Hi, my name is Kevin Walton. I forgot to at first admonish Mayor and Town Council.
That's okay.
Kevin Walton, I'm a recent transplant from the People's Republic of California and a former elected official, having served 4 years on a board. I believe in the process of participation in public activities and in governance. I'm here to kind of introduce myself. I promised I was never going to be a gadfly, but I'm going to rescind that because I believe it's really important, especially what we're doing in our national and across the country. A lot of the division we're having, I think it's important that we do have public input into all these things. And so my commitment to you is that I will be respectful. I will not try. I will make every attempt not to blindside you, try to give you something in advance, a white paper or something on those issues that are meaningful to me, and just ask the same amount of courtesy and respect on the way back. And we'll, I'm looking forward to living here. We own a home now here, and it's a great place, grandkids and all that, and glad to be here, and hope to be able to contribute to this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Next is Noah Sundberg.
Hey, I'm Noah Sundberg. I've lived here since 2008. I will not make the same commitment. Okay. I'm here to talk about your corrupt police. You have a culture of corruption, and it starts from your chief. It's been there since way before he beat up the guy. It's been going for a while, and now you guys say, Employee of the Year, the B Street employee has an indictment against him, which could turn into a felony, which could take his life, his opportunity to serve. It also could take his retirement, over reckless endangerment with a firearm. Now, let's be honest, there were 10, and you're scapegoating one. We should hear about all of them. We should know all their names. We should know the circumstances behind it. It's pretty clear that both the Oro Valley Police have said, and the Miranda Police have said, and the grand jury has said that there was misconduct. Criminal, negligent, endangerment, misconduct. And you gave him an Employee of the Year just right now. And said, yeah, you can shoot up a park. But let's be honest, there were a lot of guns fired that day at that target. We don't know how many times you guys missed. And you guys don't really care because you're not taking it seriously. You're totally delaying it, postponing it, slow walking it. It's been 6 months. You knew the day that it happened exactly what had happened, and you kept the public out of it. We still haven't been told the information about it. You knew then. You didn't do anything until the grand jury indictment, even considering looking into it further, because we have a bad chief that we need replaced. And you've done nothing as a council to take it seriously. And I wish you would. I wish you wouldn't waste money on surveys. That you know the answers aren't accurate, because when you do them, they don't turn out the way you want to in your elections. And then you do another survey trying to understand why we didn't do what you wanted. And then you buy a building for millions of dollars to do pickleball, which you can't get anybody to use because you don't care about our finances. You do not care about us. I know some of you guys have other loyalties that aren't the council duty, which is to the residents, but you need to fix your police department. There is great police officers in our police department led by garbage. Let's be honest, not only the sewer flows downhill, so does leadership and all the other things, and ours has a smelly source, and we need to take it out and make a better police force, and it starts with the police chief, but let's be honest, it starts with Shannon and you guys. You guys should all resign. You have misrepresented us, have not done your duty, have not been courageous, have not been diligent, and have not protected us. So, do your job. Thanks.
Thank you. That's all the call public we have. Yes.
I don't think it's appropriate to let that kind of comment sit. It's definitely a criticism that I think is worthy of some discussion back. I don't care to have a banter back and forth with the public. I will tell you that as we went through that process back in August and we had various agencies review this, it wasn't just a siloed attempt. It was an honest attempt to get outside perspective on what we do, because sometimes we get tunnel vision and
Yep,
we get
too close.
We're into the weeds, and so we have other agencies review as part of the due process. We followed that due process, and the outcome, not only from the various agencies, but the county attorney's office itself, found that the actions were within policy and were appropriate by way of best practices in the industry. So I'll just leave it at that, but it wasn't a siloed attempt, and I believe that we followed due process to make sure that however the outcome was, we took appropriate steps. Thank you.
And thank you. And I know, we live in a great country where the presumption of innocence is always at the forefront of our legal process. Thank you. Next, we come to council brief summary of current events. Councilman Lytle.
I'd like to pass until I hear what others have to say.
Okay, I may not
Thank
go
you.
back to you. No. Do you know if Debbie is? I know she can hear, but she might have a difficulty commenting back. I was just going to see if she had anything. Councilman Priolo.
So I've cut my teeth as your legislative ambassador. And I have been able to interface with our legislators, both in person and on the phone. And I see the beauty of the relationship, and I can report you all that there is mutual respect and open ears to hear what we have to say. And what more can one ask for but open ears and mutual respect?
Thank you. Councilman? Vice Mayor?
It was spring break. I didn't go anywhere.
You didn't do anything? I did. So you're done? Okay.
talk to you about Rocky Point.
Well, that's okay. We had a couple of youth present to us about Miles for Freedom, the 5K. That was on Saturday. And myself and Councilwoman Lisk, attended. I only could stay a few minutes because I had to go up to Marana with the food bank and ride on their float. But she wanted to, and myself, send a special shout out to Elise and her committee. And when we interact with these youth, like we do on a regular basis, I'm always so impressed. I would say 90% of the walkers were probably youth, and about 10% were adults. Elsie Hale. And she was just wonderful. There were 70 walkers and runners, and they raised $2,770 for preventing trafficking of humans. So that was wonderful. I mentioned we went to Marana. Just wanted to shout out to our fire department and our PD. Green Valley Council had their 4th annual First Responders Fair down on historic Canoa Ranch, and Northwest Hospital was down there, UCHC. It was a really great event. It was hot. It was a little warm, but it was a really wonderful event. And in competition of that, the Saurita Gym, one of the owners is Crystal, she was holding a little fundraiser for the 100 Club, that supports fallen officers and first responders. And they had a athletic competition, flipping the tires and dumbbells. So we were divided in loyalties on, to be down at the first responder fair and there. So I made the suggestion of maybe next year they could get together and then hold that event actually at a historic Canoa Ranch. Because I thought maybe they had to have a gym, but they just needed some equipment that they could haul down there. Again, another.
Hopefully it's not so hot.
And hopefully it's not so hot. And then also that, just a few days before that, Northwest Hospital, they had a ribbon cutting for their new Da Vinci robotic operating device. So it's the first one that Northwest Hospital has here, which will allow to attract physicians that have these skills that they learn in residency, but not all hospitals have those, as well as expand the delivery offering. I heard today, like OBGYN will be added to some of those. And then I think general surgeons are going to be able to do a little bit more than they previously had done. So I made the suggestion, we take a robotic dog and our Da Vinci and have them fight each other. There you go. But it was really nice. And just as a reminder, because it's before our next council meeting, that April 4th, the Bunny Bonanza out at Quail Creek Veterans Park. I think it's 9 to 11, but there's two egg hunts, one at 9:30 and one 10:30. Look forward to that before our next meeting, which is April 6th, which is 2 days after the Bunny Bonanza. So that's all I had. And Madam Clerk, item number 8. I'm sorry. Did you have anything now to add?
Okay, I didn't know if Councilmember Priolo was going to mention anything or not, but we did meet with several residents over at Ranch Resort, and it was quite interesting. They got to see the faces behind their boats, as they say, and we got to speak over some pretty fun issues.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yes. Yep, microphone? The mic?
So the Sahuarita Beautification Coalition had a meeting. It was myself, Councilwoman Kim Lisk, and Liz Boudreau. We met for an hour and a half brainstorming on next steps. And Councilwoman Lisk wrote to our fellow colleagues in the Civic Craft Program, fellow mayors and council members and vice mayors from around the state, picking their brains, wanting to learn from them. What beautification projects have they done in their community? So we are getting feedback from them to not reinvent the wheel, but to learn from what's already been done. And we have good plans to move forward, and a tagline is kind of manifested, so I'm going to float it out. Clean is beautiful. What do you think?
I like that.
Beautiful. Okay.
Thank you. Now, if both of you want another shot at it, or we can go back and cover it, okay, thanks. Madam Clerk, item number 8.
Town Manager's Report.
Mr. Dilly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As has been done in years past, whenever we have the Sahuarita Employee Annual Awards presentation, I often give up my floor for the presentation of the manager's report. I'll do the same tonight, but remind the council and the public that that report is online on the town's website under the town manager's office, and encourage everybody to read it. It's got a lot of great information there about projects, events, and updates on just things happening here in town. So thanks.
Yep, thank you. Madam Clerk, item number 9.
2026 Legislative Session Update.
Thank you. And Mr. Smith, Luke Smith, our management analyst, will present this item, and I'm assuming Karen Cruz might be on Teams?
She is online, yes.
Okay, online, thank you.
All right. So the session started January 12, 2026. We're at day 71 of the 100 days of law. Many are anticipating this might go a little over just because for the main reason of budget conformity, which has not made much progress. 20 measures so far have made it to the governors of this morning. 5 were signed and 15 were vetoed. What we're watching is budget conformity and strikers coming up, or in other words, replacing language on a bill that we have to keep an eye on. Favorable bills that are coming up. So HB 2793 is going to committee, or went to committee today. This streamlines the annexation process for adjacent territories, specifically when there's a single property owner. It basically allows digital filing, reducing posting requirements, and enables roadway jurisdiction transfers and other agreements to streamline annexation. SB 1167 is allowing towns and cities to post online rather than having to post to print, which we're hoping will make it through. This one goes to committee on Wednesday. HB 4026, public infrastructure improvements and distribution limits. This one went to committee today, and this one specifically, it talks about changing, so it removes the $200 million aggregate cap for TPT tax and replaces it with a $75 million annual cap. And the $200 million was a one-time, the $75 million would be a rolling annual for that sales tax. SB 1818, wayfinding signings. This one goes to committee on Wednesday. This one specifically streamlines the process for installing directional wayfinding signs, and I see Richard out there. This does appropriate a $300,000 grant to rural communities to implement these, or to put these signs. So it might be something we look for to in the future. HB 2720 deals with prostitution and human trafficking. So what this one is doing is increasing or attacking sex trafficking on the demand side by having harsher penalties for prostitution and an assessment fee of $200, which would go to an anti-human trafficking fund if passed. Unfavorable bills, well, I'll pause there. Are there any questions on any of those?
Any questions by colleagues? No?
So unfavorable bills that we're looking at.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
What if the person who's prostituting themselves is being sex trafficked?
Well, I don't know how they would deal with that potentially. This potential specific law deals with the person who is paying for the prostitution, or who is it deals more on the customer side of it. Yeah. Unfavorable bills, SB 1538. It deals with moving violations. Let me look at my notes here for this one here. If I have it. All right, so this one ended up being a strike everything amendment. Requires municipal employees or providers. So it was a moving violation that went to more of a controlled substance, worker compensation. And so if there's terms of PTSD, what they're trying to do is allow for psychotherapy drugs and psychotherapy treatment to be covered, and would potentially increase our liability on that end for those drugs, which has not yet been approved by the FDA. So we'll see how that one goes. Next bill, HB 2150, continuation state land. That one here. Sorry. This bill includes provision where conceptual land use would, so basically if the state has an intended use for land, theirs would supersede any land that would be annexed by the city. Right?
so if they already have zoning on it, and then we brought it in,
Yeah.
then their zoning would supersede ours?
Yeah, and potentially even after the fact. So if we decide to annex and after the fact, and they say, sorry, we can rezone or take this back. So the language on that is loose, and so.
Okay.
Yeah. That was a specific question I asked, and the league said exactly, that's what we're wondering too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's probably why it's unfavorable if we don't have clarity on it.
Yeah,
What are we agreeing to at the end of the day, right?
exactly.
Thanks.
2795 would prohibit the towns and municipalities from deciding or zoning or not deciding to zone for small modular nuclear reactors, and this relates specifically to data centers
Right.
as they come along. HB 2118 would prohibit towns and cities from requiring certain licensing for food vendors. HB 2946 limits development fees and forces us to do like a 4-year phase-in on these. This one is going to RAGE, I forget the acronym for that committee, but on Wednesday. And then HB 2999, and see, yeah, so our finance director is still in the room here. All right, but this one it has state-level preemption of municipal zoning. So basically, if we create like a special finance district, or a special finance district can be created, and it gives control of that to the developer, not to the municipality. So they can charge the fees. And some of the things we're worried about, well, if the district fails, who has the liability for that? Right now, it'd most likely be us, because no one else will be there to pick up the tab on this.
Does the by right zoning and such, does that fall under this one? Or, where we can't have a public hearing and, but it's by right, they can do whatever they want, anywhere they want. Does that fall under this one, or is that a different one?
I'm not sure. That doesn't ring a bell for this one.
Okay, maybe Karen can weigh in
Yeah.
at some point on that one. Thanks.
And finally, dead or mostly dead. So, that's a lot over here. So, HB 4030 and 2052, this one imposed a moratorium on fee tax increases till 2030. This would fall under the mostly dead. We thought it was dead, and there was amendment language proposed that would exempt wastewater fees. We anticipate that's going to show up under HCR 2016 as a striker amendment. And so we're waiting for language on this, but we believe this one's coming back in a different form under a different bill. The same sponsor also had the TPT sourcing destination. This is the one that took any online sales that happen here in Sarita and gave it instead to the city where the warehouse is at.
Right.
This one failed on third read and did not make it. Well, I think the deadline's this week, so it doesn't look like that one's going to survive.
Good.
Can we have a great funeral celebration?
Yes, we can. A Grateful Dead celebration. SB 1241 mandates towns accept our permit inspections from private third party. This one died. It stalled in Senate on 224. And sorry, there's the strikers. I don't know why that's out of order. But, HB 2040 was a motor fuel tax holiday. We're expecting a striker language on that, but we're waiting for it. And HB 2073 may allow for referendum positions to withdraw. We're expecting striker language on that one as well, to see kind of how they change or what they become.
Luke, either on the dead or mostly dead list or on the unfavorable, is there still this effort by the utilities on mitigation plans and what have you? Is Karen on the line, and can she give us a bit of an update on that?
So I'll introduce that briefly here just for a second, and then Karen, if you can.
Is that a
unmute
bill,
yourself and share.
or is that something different?
Here, let me put her. So let me introduce it briefly, and I'll put the mic to her. So what's happening is, as I understand the history of this, last year, the utility companies tried to pass a bill that basically said they can exempt themselves from any fires they might cause if they're in compliance with their mitigation plans. The bill did not make it through. So they are attempting to do something through the forestry, Department of Forestry, where using an exempt rule thing, where basically they can put this rule into effect and bypass our legislature. And the rule would be, that if they're found in compliance with whatever plan that they produce, and again, there's questions as to how rigorous the review process is for that plan. And basically right now, they've just submitted the plans they already have and said, here you go. And if those were to pass and then they're found in compliance, if they start a fire, the liability would not be theirs. It would be, or they would use that to shield themselves. I gotta stop talking with my hands here. All right. So I'll put the mic to Karen and she can offer more information on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And good evening, Mayor and council members. It's good to be with you this evening. And Luke was very hot on how close he is. The bill did pass last year, but we were able to, with the insurance industry and the trial lawyers, which is a very unholy alliance. If you know anything about politics, they do not get along. The insurers together helping to push back a lot of what had been presented in the legislation originally by the utility companies. And we were able to water it down enough and compromise enough with the utility companies where they were still mandated to present a mitigation plan. But if they're found in substantial compliance, only substantial compliance with that plan, they could be exempt from liability if they in fact are responsible of starting a wildfire. So the process has been interesting. Because of the timing, the Department of Fire and Forestry Management has opted to do a exempt rulemaking process, which means there's no, or very little, I should say, very little public input. It literally bypasses the real kind of rulemaking process, which is very arduous and very detailed and lots of public input, and it bypasses that whole process. So basically, the APS mitigation plan was offered. The public hearing for exempt rulemaking occurred last week. They basically kind of walked through what their mitigation plan is. And they admitted that it really isn't any different than what they're already doing, because what they feel they're doing is already best in class. There's no standard by which to measure that, but it is by their calculation a best in class plan, and it is pretty robust. But who's to say? And TEP has theirs coming up on April 7th. Their exempt rulemaking hearing, and then SRP also has theirs, but it has not been scheduled yet. So once they go through all of this rulemaking process, those plans then, depending on public input and any changes that need to be made that DFFM feels needs to be made based on input from others, then those plans are set, and that is that.
Did that help, Shane?
And Shane can probably walk you through a little bit more about what that really means for cities and towns, but at the end of the day, if they're not held liable for any kind of property damage, that would waterfall onto counties and cities and towns to cover that through their insurance.
And private property owners, I guess. But, this is, Mayor and Council, and thank you, Karen and Luke, this is kind of an overflow of what's happened in California, and the utilities seeing the kind of liability that the utilities there have been slapped with all these wildfires and the property loss caused by those fires. And it's, through lobbying efforts, kind of matriculating down into these other states, ours included. And so we have to watch that very carefully and make sure that our interests are being protected, because it's not our utility. Now, we do have a couple of cities and towns in Arizona that do own power utility companies, but we're not one of them, and we certainly don't want to be liable for fires caused by the utility company's infrastructure. So, thank you.
Thanks.
So just a real quick summarization, we are continuing to monitor, track this legislation in conjunction with Karen, reach out to other jurisdictions. Councilmember Priolo has been making outreach herself with direction from Karen and myself, and we've seen good responses so far from our legislators. I will point out one thing just real quick. I'll reference this. On your desk, you have this packet here. This is a draft of what our legislative packet will be when we go to Washington in mid-April. So I asked if you to review it, and if you have any recommendations, to let us know by Friday, because on Monday we plan on printing and start the binding these.
Thank you, Luke. Karen, did you have any other closing comments on any of the bills that Luke covered, or how the legislative session is going from your perspective?
Yeah, the only thing I just will report on, first of all, I want to say to Councilwoman Priolo, I just really appreciate her passion and her enthusiasm and her expertise and just her political prowess in helping us advance our our capital. It's just extremely helpful to have that. And I want to express my own personal gratitude for her for that. She's been really amazing, and it's great to work with her. The only other thing I want to update you all on is the state budget and where we are at with that. It's getting to the point in session where tempers are running high. The Senate has declared they may decide to take a 2-week pause in order to work on the budget. The House has not agreed to do that. There are several issues outstanding between the governor's office and the legislative leadership that they need to work out before they can pass a budget that they're in the process of trying to negotiate. And it's getting rather heated right now. There's even talk of the Republicans passing a budget, sending it up to the governor, and then sine dying, meaning closing down, and forcing her to veto the budget and then call it special session to get them continue to negotiate the budget. So tempers are a little high right now. It's unforeseen whether we're going to get out anytime in May or whether it will stretch out till the end of June like it did last year. But we're monitoring that as well.
Thank you. Any last comments, Shane? Nope. All right. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Luke, for staying on top of it. I know it's an ever-changing environment day to day.
Just a little.
Next, we move to item 10, which are our consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, 11A, please.
Discussion and possible action regarding resolution number 2026-0860, a grant and aid agreement with the Tohono O'odham Nation.
Thank you. And Richard Lemons, our grants and contract officer, present this item. And Jan Christensen, Director of the Smiles for Veterans, will be participating. And I think, Richard, you'll be introducing. We had more than Jan here. Some of the other attendees, which we really appreciate their attendance.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. It's a privilege and pleasure to be here today. Very exciting topic brings us here. Just a brief summary. Every year, the Native American tribes are required due to state statute to distribute 12% of their gaming profits. So they do that in a very democratic way. Applications are taken. It's a competitive process. So due to the requirements, some of the organizations are required to have a government or local entity to be a sponsor. So I come before you tonight, that is the case with this organization. So the staff is recommending that resolution 2026-0860 be passed to allow Sahuarita, the town of Sahuarita, to approve the grant and aid agreement from the Tohono O'odham Nation to Smiles for Veterans in the amount of $50,000.
Thank you. Jan or anybody, would you like to come up and just tell the council? We're very nice. A little bit about it. Good.
I talked to them before. They said they were going to be nice back.
Oh, good. And when I read the application, I mean, there were many good things in there for the grant, but the one that, as a veteran myself, jumped off at me was that 98-year-old World War II veteran that this organization's helping to get dentures, with between 40-plus other veterans that this grant will be providing. But I hope I didn't steal all your thunder by saying all of that, but welcome to your town council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. Thank you, council members. We connect needy veterans to critical dental care, and we have a network of providers, one of which is Kristen over there on the end, who's our board president. In 10 years of doing this, we've helped over 1,500 veterans receive critical dental care, and in last year alone, 234. So this, obviously ranges everything from fillings to dentures or whatever. And we appreciate your participation in this matter, and Richard very much so. He's really worked his tail off on this, and I want to make sure that he gets his recognition because he's really gone above and beyond for us, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you. No, I know, and thanks to providers, because I know she's humble, but has provided a lot of that denture work and such at no cost.
She has, yes.
For that, so, a lot, a lot. So, I mean, thanks for being a helpful part of our community. Really appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. At this time, anybody would like to make a motion at this moment?
Yes, I'd like to move to approve resolution number 2026-080.
We have a motion, 6-0. Yep. And from another veteran, thanks for making that motion, appreciate it. Okay, I'll second it. I appreciate that. Yeah, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries. Thank you, thanks for being here. Item 11B, Madam Clerk.
Discussion and possible action regarding a contract with Town Manager Shane Dilly.
Thank you. This could have been on consent agenda, but I just wanted to, just say a few words and allow other council members. Shane's entering his 4th year with us, which I can't believe. His first year, I promised him a honeymoon. That hasn't worked. We kind of walked into Vulcan around that time. But, obviously, we passed 418 and 419, and from the Technical Management Committee, he's been nothing but a leader with the other town managers on crafting what I call the compromise plan. It wasn't a perfect plan, but it was certainly a compromise plan of investing over $2.6 billion in ourselves and in so many other things. Honestly, I decided to run one more time because of the working relationship that Shane and I have, along with fantastic colleagues and obviously department heads and things. But most interaction I have is with Shane, as it's supposed to be, as he is the town manager. And I just couldn't be any happier on the direction that we're going, from when we sit through the budget retreats, from our attrition rate, plummeting, to, his thoughts about 410s and just trying to be the town and employee community of town of choice in our area. So I just, wanted to show and express my appreciation for all the things that he's done. It hasn't felt like 4 years. It maybe feels like 4 years to you, but it hasn't felt that. And every time I need a wingman, especially with PAG RT over the last 6 years for me, he's been more than helpful, and I can trust his advice implicitly. So, anybody else?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just wanted to echo what you said. I agree with everything. I was up at Quail Creek speaking to lots of residents on Friday, and I was talking with one of the residents regarding our town manager and saying how they feel like it's going in the right direction and they like senior leadership. And I shared with them that Shane has this great ability to be able to know what needs to happen for him to find success, and to take somebody that may be not on board with that have their own agenda and they wanting something completely different for their success. And this idea, you find common ground, which everybody talks about. Shane's one of the few people I've seen that can do it. Like, he does it well. And he does not sacrifice the essential things for what he needs, but he sees the other person or the other group of people, whatever it may be, and it's masterfully done. And I love being in the room when he does that. So thank you.
Yep, thank you. Any other council members before we move to a motion? Yes, Diane?
I'm not going to miss an opportunity to express the deepest gratitude for Shane Dilly. It is an honor and a pleasure to serve with you, and we're lucky to have you.
And I know there's an opening in Nogales, and I'm going to hang you if you entertain that idea on there. At this time, I'll entertain a motion, if so moved.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve amendment number 1 to contract number 250054.
Thank you.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Shane. If you'd like to say a few words?
Thank you.
If we kept you in the humble range.
Yeah, it really is a team, and you all know this. The B Sahuarita is all about team, and I think that it's manifest in the work that we're moving forward and doing for the community. So your trust and confidence in staff is so important, and really appreciate the ongoing collaboration and partnership in our retreats and the day-to-day interactions that we have together between my office and each of you. It just has been a wonderful experience, and it hasn't felt like 4 years. Sometimes when I'm upstairs and I'm sitting on those benches right outside of the Saguaro conference room, I remember vividly the day when you guys were contemplating your candidate options for this position and sitting there wondering, am I going to be lucky enough to be chosen for the spot? And I still feel that way today. It's a great honor to be able to serve this community, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thanks. And I know can be probably legally for the record, but I got a text from Debbie, and she was a big I as well. But but I don't think that works for the official record. Just wanted you to know that. Madam Clerk, item 12A.
Study session regarding cannabis dispensary zoning regulations.
Thank you. And Anna Cassidy, our Community Development Director, will introduce Lindsay Shuby and Michelle Santaro from Gamage and Burnham, and will present this item.
Good evening,
Oh,
Mayor
there you
Murphy's.
are. I was
Hello.
waiting for you right there.
We've got a crowded front row today, so I decided to come up onto the dais for tonight. So thank you for allowing this study session tonight. As we've all said, it's a study session. There's not an official application. Tonight is just for learning and discussion. And before we go into that, I did want to clear up a little bit of confusion on the staff report. So if you look at the second page of the staff report, there's a table that indicates current and proposed zoning regulations. And the bit of information in there that created some confusion was the sales type, the medical sales versus the adult use or recreational sales. So the table is actually accurate in terms of zoning regulations. Our zoning code only talks about medical marijuana sales. It does not talk about recreational use, but there are some nuances that go into that, some external factors that affect what type of sales happen at the dispensary, and I'm going to let the attorneys dive into those details. So with no further ado, I will introduce Lindsay Shuby. She's a partner at Gamage and Burnham, and she has with her Michelle Santoro, Senior Land Use Planner at Gamage and Burnham.
Tell me when. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and welcome to the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Lindsay Shuby, for your record, with the law firm of Gamage and Burnham. I could hear that buzz with the last person. I'm like, I'm not as tall as he is. Hopefully we can press that button and get it lower. Thank you so much. And thank you to staff. Anna, thank you. It's been great working with you. And I had the pleasure of working with Shane Dilley when he was assistant city manager up in Flagstaff. So it's wonderful to be, I am new to you, but I'm not new to Shane, and have worked a little bit with your city attorney before. So I'm really thankful that we're here for a study session. This was a recommendation by staff. I actually go on the record and say, I actually speak about the marijuana regulation in many jurisdictions across the state of Arizona. I probably do more work in this space than most lawyers, and it's complicated, right? It's tricky. We've had 2 citizen initiatives, so I know a lot about it. I don't actually use it. It's funny, I'm on the record and also in many jurisdictions saying that. Not saying I wouldn't, one of the greatest the people who take gummies is for sleep. So women and men in their 40s to 60s using sleep, that's a lot of people who use the product. But I do know a lot about the regulatory framework, and it is a little kerfuffling, so we're going to walk through it. I welcome any questions, comments. I also welcome any interruptions from city manager or town manager or town attorney. I also sometimes speak too quickly, so I will slow that down too. But look forward to an interactive conversation. And that's why we're here. The report was very short. If we file for any text amendments, we'll make it more detailed and take you through it, but really looking for direction tonight and just start the conversation, because most jurisdictions have amended their ordinances multiple times. You guys haven't, and so we'll get into that as to, the different citizen initiatives that have passed. Oh, thank you. I didn't know about that. Perfect. So, there we go. Lindsay Shuby, Michelle Santoro. Michelle is sitting over there and will come tap me on the shoulder if I say anything incorrect, and has all the backup information. So if you ask me a question I don't know, I'll look at Michelle and see if she knows the answer. So the history. As we all know, and this also is part of, it's interesting you had your legislative update. Both the medical and the adult use initiatives were passed by citizen initiative. And gosh, there's strengths and weaknesses, right, in that process, because any changes have to be made by 75% change. And you can't get the legislature to 75% of them to agree on anything. So we are stuck with some interesting rules and some things that don't totally make sense. So again, we'll walk through that. But again, in 2010, Prop 203 passed. That was a medical program. After a failed attempt, I think it was in 2016. And also, I had nothing to do with the initiatives. So I just work with these laws once they come into play. I believe there was a failed attempt for adult use in 2016. In 2020, we call it the other Prop 207, right? Real estate zoning attorneys talk about the other Prop 207, but this is the other Prop 207. It legalized recreation marijuana statewide. One thing that was interesting about that is the state preempted all cities and towns that there were 130 medical licenses at the time. All of those 130 licenses were given not only the right, but also the obligation to sell adult use. So whatever your license name was, let's call it ABC Cannabis Company. If you had a medical license, you were awarded an adult use. It was called an establishment license. Therefore, all medical dispensaries across the state did both. In that legislation, it said cities, towns, counties cannot prohibit dual use licenses. So you'll see many cities and towns did go in, they amended their ordinance to say dual use. However, it is the right of the jurisdiction to allow or not allow establishment only. Establishment only, there are 26, they're called social equity licenses, that can go anywhere in the state. They were given to social equity applicants. And then there are another 14 that are in surrounding county jurisdictions that didn't have medical dispensaries at the time. So there aren't that many. One nice thing about the Arizona marijuana program is it's very highly regulated. I am someone who comes from more of a anti-regulation, more of a kind of a conservative mind stance on government and kind of government staying out of business. However, in this case, I do think we did a nice job. There are only 160 licenses in the entire state, and we're not giving out any more. So the framework of kind of marijuana dispensaries, I would say, is in place. They aren't moving that much anymore. You saw them kind of moving around more. I'd say most dispensaries are here. I am here on behalf of Jaris Cannabis. They purchased Hannah Meds, the only dispensary in your jurisdiction. So I'm not here suggesting that a new dispensary come in. Frankly, we're happy we're the only ones. So yeah, we're here. Between 2020 and 26, there were a ton of text amendments. I think Gilbert had 4 or 5. Payson had 3 or 4. Phoenix, I know, had probably 3 or 4. And so your code is actually very unique, that you're one of the only ones that has the original language. Therefore, I'm here this evening asking for cleanup. Well, I say cleanup on a few of them, and then the establishment license is the one at the end that we'll talk about. But again, your jurisdiction has a lot of the same regulatory framework as many other jurisdictions when the law was first introduced. And we're asking for a few changes. One of them is the size. Second is the hours. Third is a dedicated lobby space. Fourth is a drive-through. And fifth is establishment only. And I didn't put this on the list, but I would like to bring up delivery. If you don't mind, City Attorney, I know we didn't advertise for that, but you can cut me off if you want me to.
So I just want to clarify, delivery meaning that they can go and deliver it to a home?
Correct.
Or a place. Okay. I just wanted to understand that one.
Yes, right now, medical marijuana dispensaries are permitted to deliver marijuana to qualifying patients in the manner provided. So we'll start with this one. It's the only one not listed. And looking for direction on all of these. Right now, medical dispensary is permitted to deliver. Technically, by Prop 207,
Right.
you're not allowed to make different rules. So we would like to clarify with the town that we can do delivery. The Arizona Department of Health Services has very strict regulations on delivery. So we would like to potentially clean up that language, or just kind of get your thoughts and guidance on delivery, so that town has the right to prohibit delivery altogether or allow it for both.
But we can't prevent it from medicinal, can we?
You can prohibit delivery,
Oh, okay.
yes.
But right
delivery.
now, we can deliver, is delivery allowed at all?
Yes.
It is for medicinal?
Correct.
And you're looking at to go to recreational?
Yes.
What I think.
You do. No, this is
for
your code.
medicinal.
We do from the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a quick question, because I was able to visit it.
Yes.
Over the weekend, which.
That's what you were doing.
I was.
We did have a very busy weekend.
But, and I tried to go in when there's a lull, and there was no lull. So I'll expand on that later. But I know there's so many tight controls when I was in there. How do those controls work on a delivery system? Obviously, you're already doing medicinal, so there has to be something similar from the whole process that I watched down in the building itself.
Yeah, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, very good question. And if you give me the nod that, okay, ask for it, and kind of we'll see what happens down the road. The delivery rules are a very thick rule. We just got it passed in Prescott Valley. And I had my whole binder up there, talking to council about it. We did the size of the dispensary and delivery. It's very, very highly regulated. The dispensary has to have the ID of the person who's getting delivered on file at the dispensary. The orders are placed directly with the dispensary. There is a bag with the product that's put together, closed, sealed.
I saw that.
With the name on it. It then it goes into a car, an unmarked car, with a camera and voice recognition at all times. I'm not kidding you. It's unbelievable. Then they have to have a trip log. The trip log doesn't just say A to B. The trip log says north on Speedway, east on whatever. It has to have north, south, east, west. They have to follow that trip log, and they have to keep it on file. Every car that is used not only has that camera and consistent voice control, and there's a camera on the delivery person, the car has to be called back within 2 hours at any time. So if the Arizona Department of Health Services gets any complaint about a car, it has to be returned to the dispensary for inspection within 2 hours. Those are part of them. There are more rules than that. So yes, if this is something that the council, again, you're not giving me a nod that you're going to vote for it or not, but that is something we would like to ask for.
Right, and I know I witnessed the sealing of the bags and, watching them, be checked and everything, and, they carried them out and, they kept them in the car and then drove away, so that was just an observation. Thank you.
It's a very, very detailed process. So our first request, again, the existing hours in the zoning ordinance are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We are here respectfully requesting 7 to 10.
Yep, Diane?
What days of the week are they in operation?
Mayor, council member, 7 days a week.
7 days a week, yep.
Yeah. If you can see, the city of Tucson has amended their ordinance to allow 7 to 10, as has Pima County, as has Marana. Benson is 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Vail is 7 to 10, and Green Valley is 7 to 10. And then Phoenix, I did try to compare southern jurisdictions. I can also talk about, the more northern jurisdictions too. But again, if your dispensary isn't open, then chances are people will be going to somewhere else, and the sales tax will be going there.
Right.
So that's our first request. Second request, the lobby requirement. So again, the League of Cities and Towns, this was in 2010, right, when this all first started, proposed an ordinance that said 25% of the gross floor area needs to be the lobby. I'm not sure why. we're kind of all scratching our heads as to why we thought, but everyone did, and Mesa had it. Mesa just took it out 2.5, 3 years ago. Phoenix took it out 2020. Everyone has kind of slowly taken it out of their ordinance. I think the idea was, and the first dispensaries had a lobby and kind of a man trap and a buzz, bulletproof glass, and so the intent was a lobby area that was independent. I believe Sahuarita may be the last one that still has it. Mesa had the 25%, like I said, until a couple years ago. We have proven that dispensaries are safe and secure with the 25% lobby requirement now, the way they're operational. We always want to make sure we're in compliance. Therefore, we're just respectfully requesting that that's stricken from the ordinance, just so that we're never in violation of it.
Yeah. I would just weigh in a little bit on that, because when I did go in, I mean, obviously it was large and it was barely used because you went right to sort of the cash register, check in on that. I'd certainly be comfortable. Me personally, I wouldn't want to have 0, maybe 5 or 10%, because I sat outside for a while first just to see the activity. So if it got really busy, which it was that day, there was a little bit of a lull, to get through. So to have 0, I wouldn't necessarily be in favor of that, but certainly that was a lot of empty space. They had 2 ATM machines there. They did have some chairs, but it was almost not half the space, but it felt like half the space was being in a lobby. So I certainly, me personally, I'd be open to reducing that. I don't know if I'd want to go to 0, but 5, 10%, just to have some overflow. If we agree to expand, I think that would be helpful, but that's just my individual thought.
Yeah, Mayor, and great thought. And we will always have a lobby, right? That we have to follow building code, safety code, all of those things. So there will always be kind of a lobby area. The request is more kind of taking it out of the ordinance, but I hear your comments and very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and a good segue. So yes, City of Tucson, no lobby requirement. Vail, Green Valley, and Pima County do. Pardon? Vail, Green Valley. Yes, Valley and Green Valley follow you, correct. And Marana has no lobby requirement, neither does Phoenix anymore. Benson either.
Mayor, just to be clear, Vail and Green Valley would be Pima County.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's why they have a 25%.
That's why 25%. Pima County would apply to Vail and Green Valley.
Right.
They're not separate jurisdictions, but.
Right.
Yeah, no, thank you, John. And that gets into the next one, the allowable square footage. Mayor, as you stated, 2,000 square feet, gosh, it is small. It is just a small space. Again, this all started with the original 2010 medical marijuana. No one knew how big it was going to be, how safe it was going to be, any of those things. I think we all thought small, controlled spaces. With the addition of the recreational adult use and with the dual use license, they all have to be in the same space. So you can't have a dual licensee where you have a 2,000 square foot here and 2,000 square foot here. In 2020 is when Phoenix changed. So in the city of Phoenix, every year, if you have any type of marijuana use, you go in front of a hearing officer and we check police calls, neighborhood services calls, and it is noticed to see if any members of the public have any questions or comments about the operation of the dispensary. And in 2020, I was getting the police calls and I got some fire calls. And I'm calling my client saying, why is a fire department being called? And they said, gosh, in Phoenix was 2,500 square feet. With social distancing and medical and adult use passing, too many people had to wait outside. And so people were passing out because of the heat. So that's when Phoenix went up to the 5,000 square feet. Again, just looking for flexibility as your one and only dispensary. If we had the chance to expand, we would like to. We don't expect we would do any more business. It would simply be a little more breathing room for everyone. Perhaps we could make a more medical, a couple medical stands, point of sales unique to that. Just efficiency of our space and having a little more breathing room.
More lobby. No. And that's why I'd be okay with less than 25, because if you took 5,000 square feet and put 25% aside, that's a lot of empty space, my opinion.
So City of Tucson is 10,000 square foot. Pima County, which again is the same as Vail and Green Valley, is 10,000 square feet. Marana, no size restriction. Phoenix goes from 5,000 to 10,000. Phoenix proper is 10,000, but a lot in the neighboring jurisdictions, including Tempe, is 10,000 square feet. Maricopa County has no size restrictions at all. So we didn't want to go as far as 10, but we thought 5 was a nice jump from 2. Allow drive-through. This is a new, I shouldn't say new, Maricopa County has always allowed drive-through. The state allows drive-through. You need the same cameras, safety, security, and again, is proven to be safe and secure. There have been drive-throughs around for years. The primary users of drive-throughs are actually seniors or people with pets.
Well, can I go back to when I visited Sunday? Actually, there was 2 folks that came in wheelchairs. One was pretty definitely a veteran, because I could tell by, the stickers and things like that. And, where it is, it's on a little slope and things like that. And I just thought, for the elderly, the infirmed, you're sick, whatever it might be, especially witnessing those 2 elderly people in wheelchairs, that was certainly something that I was open for, because of just, if you can get it, you can get it. If you want it, fine. I don't, but, I'm trying to always think from a consistency basis. We issue a lot of liquor permits from here for organizations which, is legal. Actually, we'd like to get a brewery here by some in our town. I know some of us don't drink. I know probably most of us don't partake. But, again, for me, it's back to the consistency. There was a voter initiative on there, but certainly for me, the drive-through is certainly a convenience for, and I also witnessed probably half were, from an age perspective, were coming from Green Valley on Sunday, and the other half were probably more ours. And we were, from my opinion, we were doing some of them a disservice by making them get out of the car in 101-degree heat and 2 in wheelchairs and bring them in. But that was my observation on Sunday.
Mayor, that's 100%. And surprise, there's been a request for it. Again, it's health issues, elderly, pets in the car, and frankly, temperature.
Right.
I mean, gosh, right?
101.
You just said it, 101 in March. When you have to visit, you have the opportunity for a Walgreens to go through a drive-through. It's the same thing.
I've got one thing that I'd like to bring out.
Yes.
Earlier, you were asking about delivery. Well, now you're saying you want to have a drive-through. Well, if you have delivery, why do they have to have a drive-through? I don't understand. I mean, if you can deliver it, why should we have to make it simple enough to have someone drive through it? I don't understand that.
Mayor, council member, great question. I think some people like getting out of the house. Some people are out. It wouldn't have you don't have a message board. You don't have any of those things. There's no squawk box or something when you think about an Arby's or a Wendy's or something like that. It's just another avenue for people.
Convenient. I would say convenient. It's kind of like going through the Fry's and you have that drive-through, on there for people not getting out or getting out.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
And this may be directed to staff or our attorney. Do we allow alcohol to be picked up through a drive-through? I stumped them.
I think so. Yeah, we do. Typically, I want to say, do drive-throughs require a use permit?
It depends on the zone.
Yeah.
But it is allowed in the town?
Yeah, you could.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, it's essentially, if there is a drive-through liquor store, it would be sealed. You're not handing out a cup of ice and like they do in Florida, but they used to at least. But no, so yeah, you could do drive-through, and depending on the zoning, you may require like a special use permit or a conditional use permit or something like that to deal if there are other impacts.
All right.
And I know during the pandemic, I don't know what we had to do for that. We were also allowing delivery of alcohol if they bought, food. I remember Pub 22. It really kept them alive.
And you can, by way of, I don't know if it's Uber Eats or one of the, you can order alcohol.
Right.
By delivery. Liquor stores will deliver. If you order from Safeway or Fry's, they'll, as part of their home delivery.
Right.
They'll. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. It's highly regulated, but.
And I would guess, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I bet the controls of delivering adult use marijuana are probably even tighter than from alcohol, from an Uber Eats or whoever it might be, because we're talking special drivers and special cars, correct?
Correct. Yeah, special drivers, special cars, you have to have a facility agent card, which means you've had a full background check. It is, yes, much highly regulated, but correct, John, they both happen.
Yeah, if you order food online or delivery,
Right.
it can just.
You just add it to the menu.
They just add it to the menu, yeah.
Yep. Yep. Diane?
Do you have any information on dispensaries that do medical as well as social use that have drive-throughs, and what percentage of the business is for social use as compared to the disabled medical person who's there to pick up their medical marijuana?
Mayor, council member, great question, and I do not have that data with me, but if we come forward with that application, absolutely. We do represent, we represent multiple people who have existing dispensaries. I can tell you it has proven to be safe. It does not increase sales normally. It is simply a convenience factor for someone who's
Right.
already.
And just to clarify, Diane, again, because if they originally had it for medical, because I learned Sunday, there's a $300 fee and other things to actually have it. So as far as how many drive-throughs there are, we certainly can find out that. But knowing why they're buying it, they can now buy it as easily or cheaper, actually, from recreational use than actually medicinal. So we won't even necessarily know, if they're buying it for recreational, did they have an issue they would like to alleviate, based on that. Am I off on that?
No, you're,
Okay.
Mayor, you're correct. And that gets to the last item, and this, if there's any consternation amongst council, happy to have a conversation, but this is not a hill we want to die on.
Right.
As you said, right now we have a dual use, right?
Right.
And so in order to be a medical patient, A, you're registered, B, you pay $200 a year, I believe, for a card,
okay.
or $300.
300. I heard it was 3. It might be wrong.
It could have
but-
been 3. And I don't, so, but then when you're a medical patient, you get more potency, more quantity. So there are reasons, right? And lower taxes. So when you're medical, you don't have, there are more taxes associated with the adult use, with the establishment license. Many people have lapsed their medical card when adult use came online. In part, people just don't like being on lists, right? They don't like being tracked, all those things. I don't know. But so
Right.
the medical cards have gone down. The establishment use has gone up. In a way, that's good, because with establishment, you collect more taxes. I come from Canada, so we're big on taxing everyone up there for everything, especially alcohol. So we were, again, they're different licenses, right? So there's the dual use license and there's establishment only. We did put it up here for discussion to have an establishment only. Again, I represent your new dispensary owner, but we are the one and only, and we would love to continue to be the one and only in town. The establishment only license allows the opportunity, our client does have a lot of dispensaries across the state and actually in other states, to put a different license here. Again, not to open another dispensary. It's kind of the paperwork behind the scenes from the Department of Health Services. But if there is I've had a couple discussions with your town manager and town attorney. They've been very diligent in following up with me. If there is consternation about the addition of the establishment-only license, we are happy to remove that from our list of requests and just move forward with the other ones.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you for that. I was obviously looking it through, visiting it, I was comfortable with all the other, except for the 0 on the lobby. But, this felt more like sort of opening up the Pandora's box, so to speak, and knowing where this particular location is, I won't say necessarily literally off the grid, but as far as our town goes, it's a destination. You have to know it's there and get down to there. That would be the one I would have the most, trouble of, because I haven't seen any issues with the one that is down there. That's just me personally. And again, what they can do today is what they can do tomorrow, right? Even if we did nothing on all these changes. But, we are a free market, limited government, community. So again, I voted against it, when it was on the ballot, but it is approved on there. And I take it almost back to the ridiculousness, if, when they tried to outlaw the big gulp, right? Well, whether it was 80 ounces or whatever, so people were buying 240 ounces. To me, watching who was coming in there on that one particular day, having the convenience on there, it was controls that I've seen much more so than I've ever actually seen alcohol over time. So, again, that was the one I would have the most difficulty with on there. But this is a study session. Staff needs direction. And I guess before I go to the others, the hours, if someone wants at 8 o'clock at night, we have a lot of workers in our town where our average age is 37. Do I want them taking their tax money to another municipality? No, I don't. I looked up all the others, in our area, and it was, mostly it was 10 o'clock, for that. So am I going to try to take some convenience away and they're going to go to some other location? No. I have no problem with that. Obviously, we have our, no pun intended, but our workforce, our business is growing Sahuarita. So I could take that literally and figuratively on there. So, 5,000 feet was, I didn't have a problem in that. If a business wants to, I'm trying to be consistent. If any business came to us, with the exception of this one, we would celebrate, we'd be out there breaking ground with them, right, to expand. So, hours, size, of course, drive-through, watching, these folks, debilitating condition in some cases. The lobby, for me personally, 5-10%. Because like you said, you're going to need a lobby anyway, so if it's something that's reasonable, that's on the record, and not to have that establishment only, I guess is the term of it, that would be the one I would have the most heartburn with.
Okay,
But,
I appreciate that.
Again, staff needs direction. Diane, thoughts? I did hear from Debbie and Kim, and they were, good with whatever, everything that was presented. I didn't get into the detail of 5 or 10%. I think they did say they certainly would want to see a lobby, so of some sort, but understand when they went in to visit, none of us inhaled, just to be clear, that it's like, whoa, that's a pretty big space for not being utilized.
Yep.
So, but I think they still had a comfort level of having something. So they wanted me to at least put that out there on behalf of both of them. Vice Mayor?
I have no comments.
No comment, okay. Councilmember?
I'm still wrestling with the drive-through option and worried about impaired drivers. So that's something I'm not sure on.
Can I throw out there, though, when I saw them come out, on Sunday, they walk in, and they walk back to the car, and then they would, my opinion, they would still have the same availability of whatever you think they're going to do.
So, yeah.
From a drive-through or, get back in the car, because it's about, 20 yards, 10 yards from there. And again, when I saw the two gentlemen in the wheelchairs, one was struggling pretty mightily. I was thinking, I wish he had the availability, to do that. That's just me. But, and again, for me, alcohol, if I go to Fry's or Safeway, I can break a bottle open as easily as I, supposed to keep it, home. So for me, that's how I process all of that, but everybody's entitled to their thoughts.
And council member, if I may, I mean, the laws are still, you're not allowed to consume on site. And this dispensary owner definitely they've banned people from their locations if they are violating the rules. They are very regulatory conscious, and they see people, they give them one warning, and then they will ban them if they do any infraction. So, and not consuming, I'm saying any of those things. It's still illegal to drive impaired, all of those things. So we don't support any of those things. It's for a convenience factor.
And that's something I appreciate, where if someone comes in and they say, ooh, this guy should not even be here,
Right.
To help keep the residents safe. That might be a little bit difficult in the car, if they're going through the drive-through to kind of look and say, how is this person doing? I still have mixed feelings on the DoorDash delivery, but I could see that being a safer option there too.
Right.
And with kind of more of the regulations on that. But, so these are some things I'm wrestling with.
Yeah, because the DoorDash would take away the driving impaired, right? Because they're having it delivered to their house. Councilmember Priolo?
I don't have peace in my heart about this. And I too went there. So, as far as the lobby size, it's a lot of wasted space. They could utilize the space that they have to have a bigger work area, product area, because that lobby was very large. The hours, I think 7 to 7, 7 days a week. If somebody wants to go get marijuana for social uses, and, they are limited because supposing it's someone in our town where you have to come to work at 7 in the morning and then, you leave at 6 by the time you drive there. Is it I just don't have peace in my heart about this. And I also I asked for some research on the impact of medical, I have no quibble with the medical marijuana. And I agree with Councilmember Lytle that if there's delivery service, do they have to pay for that delivery service, or is that included in their fee?
Mayor, council member, I don't know. I will come back with that answer. I don't, because dispensary, so there is no legal requirement to charge a fee. I know different dispensaries, some do, some don't. And I don't know what this,
because obviously that might be a consideration if there's a fee for the delivery fee, but if it's included in the price of the medicinal marijuana, then they get how more convenient can it be? They come right to your home. Gas is so expensive now, so they don't have to drive to the store. They have door-to-door service delivery. The hours, I think, are fine the way they are. I am not in favor of increasing the hours. I'm not in favor of the drive-through, and I am okay with the lobby being utilized indifferently to expand the space that they have for the products that they're selling.
Any comments, Councilmember Lytle?
First of all, I want to thank you for a great presentation. I do appreciate that. Saying that, I have to speak from my heart. I'm opposed to the entire thing. I know it's tax dollars that comes to the town and everything, but sometimes it's about more than just money. And I think this is a time that it's more than just about money. You say we can have it delivered to the home. That's fine. How do we know that 14 or 15-year-old isn't taking it over when it gets there? We have no way of knowing this. I remember back on the streets of Philadelphia, we had package stores. They were the only ones who could sell alcohol, but they didn't keep the 13 and 14-year-olds from getting a bottle of wine. So I'm opposed to it. Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, Shane, do you want to weigh in, or Anna? Usually we can get a pretty good sense of direction. I'm not feeling that tonight necessarily until something comes back as a proposal, to us. But or maybe for the applicant as well, how would you see this progressing forward based on what you're hearing tonight, based on what the applicant may submit at some point? Kind of how, can you just play it out for us a little bit? Because I know when I was reading the background, we have to go to P&Z, right, and have a public hearing and all these kinds of things. So based on what you heard tonight, you're probably more confused than maybe you were right at the beginning. Maybe not, but just kind of give me a layout of how you think it might proceed from here.
Thanks, Mayor Murphy, members of the council. So this is an issue where staff didn't feel comfortable just reviewing it from a land use perspective and then bringing it to you like we normally would if we're looking at, say, setbacks or landscape regulations. It's, like you said, we're hearing different opinions from the council, and we as staff are here to help get the council the code that they want. There is no formal application at this point, so we haven't dug in and done a really thorough analysis because right now there's nothing to analyze. So the next steps would be if the dispensary and their attorneys feel that there's enough support on the council to submit an application, they would submit that formal application to the Community Development Department, and at that point we would do the thorough analysis, see how it interacts with some of the other regulations, look at adopted policy, and see how the proposal fits in with policy. Then bring that analysis to the Planning and Zoning Commission. It is a zoning code text amendment, so it would follow the same procedure as any other zoning code text amendment. So there'd be a public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission. They would make a recommendation, and then we would have another public hearing with the town council where we would bring you the commission's recommendation and you would ultimately decide which way to go.
Okay, thank you. Did you have it was a great presentation, any follow-up with us or need any clarification? I know you were taking notes, but.
Yes, I've taken copious notes. No, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, thank you. Thank you for your time. And it's normal to have, it's an ideological, we all have different challenges in terms of things. So I take no personal offense. I am happy that you guys have a great council who can agree and agree to disagree. And if we will probably move forward with an application. I did hear some support for some of these items. I don't think you will see establishment only in there, so I'll save that suspense. But we'll work between Shane and Anna and John on an application that they're comfortable with, and maybe different things, right? Anna, as you said, maybe a use permit for a drive-through or something like that, right. or certain standards, or yes. So there's a lot of work to do, but we are going to bring. I look forward to seeing you again. It'll be a nice presentation, and you can tell me you don't like it again, but.
We didn't say we didn't like it.
No,
he did. Not the presentation.
You like the presentation? No,
Right.
you will probably see me again. We'll put in an application, work with all of you. I am with the law firm of Gamage and Burnham. Shane and John and Anna all do know how to get in touch with me. If you have any follow-up through Shane that you would like to share with me or contact me directly, please. It is a complicated topic, and we have lots of emotions over it. But thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you guys taking the time on a long night to hear from me.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate it, both of you. Next, Madam Clerk, item 12B.
This is a study session regarding the compensation and classification study recommendations.
Thanks. And Liliana Soto, our acting human resource director, will introduce the market study with consultants from Valiant.
Yes, good
Thank you.
evening, everyone. As you all know, we've been going through a comprehensive market study. So tonight we have Kim DePhillips and Mike Canfield with Valiant to present the findings to you
Thank you.
tonight. Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. We're excited to be here. So on behalf of our entire team, the Valiant team that's not all here tonight, just two of the partners are here.
Yeah, just get a little closer to the
Sorry.
mic. You can move it.
There we
And the whole podium comes up. Right there with your right hand, that
Mhm.
little button.
Oh, yeah, right, no,
No,
right here.
that one. There we go.
Not too high.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll share.
Go kind of middle.
Okay, we'll compromise. So, thank you again and for having us, and thank you for selecting us to do this very important work. We're with Valiant Consulting Group out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. We were selected back in October to do a compensation analysis for your organization, and very pleased to be here tonight to tell you about the kind of the final presentation that we made. Although there's still some work to be done. I know you've got budget process and so forth, but we're here to give you a brief overview of kind of the 30,000-foot view to give you some results of the findings and some of the options looking forward to maybe make some adjustments. So again, before I go any further, I just want to give a shout out to your town manager. Shane has been great. He's been involved the whole time. Liliana from the HR department has been involved. And in fact, your directors have been involved. We've met with them. And great courtesy, but more importantly, great involvement. And the more involvement we have in this type of study, the better the quality comes out. So we think we've come up with some good ideas and some good options for you all to consider. So what I'm going to do, my name is Mike Campfield, and I'm the president of the corporation. And Kim DeFilippis is one of our partners, and she does project management, oversight, and make sure that we're on the right path. Stacy couldn't be here as the certified compensation director that handles that department. She had a previous engagement. So we're going to cover it for her, and I think I need to see if we can operate the slides. There we go. Okay. So just briefly over the agenda that we'll talk about tonight, we're going to review the deliverables, the analysis itself, some key concerns that were brought up initially. We'll talk about those. I'm going to talk a little about, or let's see, I'm going to talk about external market evaluation and then the structure recommendations, which is really talking about a market structure and how we design that. But then we want to get to Kim and really talk about the meat of the heart of the report, isn't that where you are competitively with your salaries and what it would take to become more competitive. And Kim will cover some of those cost numbers that we've worked out. And then there's a request for review process that we've gone through. We've also evaluated some of your policies. And we've submitted some implementation. So that's what we'll cover tonight. We'll be brief. We know probably between you and maybe a late dinner, but we'll be thorough and we'll be here as long as you'd like to answer any questions you have. We know this is a very important study for you. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Kim. She's going to talk about, we did a study about mayor and town councils, which is a difficult one to do. There's not a lot of data out there floating around, but we did do some good work, and I'm going to let Kim talk about that. So.
Great. Thank you, Mike. I think before we move into that, which one am I? There we go. I think in front of you, you have a copy of the executive summary report. Perfect. And the areas that are covered in that report are listed here. We're going to go through each of them, hopefully in enough detail that you won't have any questions. But if you do, please feel free to ask. So the deliverables in this project, we start out getting to know you as best we can, getting to know your positions, what you're about, your strategies, your objectives. And we pull together a master list of titles, and that's what we're pricing in the market, is the positions that you have in your organization. The market review is really the heart of what we do, and that's looking at your jobs in comparison to other comparable jobs in the market. And we'll talk about how we do that and how we identify the market shortly. We prepare for implementation is essentially what we're doing at this point, where we spend a lot of time with your management team, your leadership team, and HR, determining what was the best way to implement this program for you. We looked at your policies. We have provided an implementation plan. Because we recognize this isn't something you all do every day, we want to make this change management as simple as possible. And then, of course, Mike already mentioned the communications were fabulous with your team. So with that, we'll move into the mayor and town council review. We essentially looked at comparable Arizona cities and towns, and we based the cities and towns that we looked at We based it on population size, but also on those areas that were really regionally relevant. Certainly like Marana was mentioned as a town that was, and I think I said it wrong, Marana, as a town that was regionally relevant. So those are the areas we looked at for the mayor and town council. And getting right into the heart of it, what we found is your current salaries are listed there in the middle for mayor and town council, and you're a little bit below the market average, as you can see there. So just information for you to note. We also were asked to look at what types of benefits were offered for these positions. And from what we found with the cities and towns that we looked at, most do offer medical and retirement, some kind of medical and retirement plan for their mayor and town council members. We could find nothing that showed dental and vision and life insurance were offered to these positions. So there you have it. Any questions on this piece of the study?
Any questions so far? Vice Mayor?
I find it interesting that you started with this one.
They want to get behind them.
Yeah, we'll get the toughest part first.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just pointing that out.
Excellent. Okay.
Yes.
So I'd like to ask a question. So with the mayor and town council, with an employee, their market adjustment studies are done how often?
For the town, for your town?
Mm-hmm.
That might be a Liliana question. But you have to come to the mic. From a historical perspective, how often have we been doing it? I don't want to answer wrong.
The last time we did it was about 3 years ago.
Okay. Before that, it was a while, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't recall the exact years, but it was a while before the last one.
Right. So really, it's up to us.
It's up to us?
Yeah, it's up to us to determine when we want to do the next one, basically. But I think there's been a commitment, mostly not for us, but for staff, to try to be a little bit more regular on doing
every
those.
3 to 4 years.
3 or 4
would be
years, that's what I
ideal.
was thinking. Thanks, Lilia.
Any other questions related to this topic?
Nope.
All righty, thank you. So, a little bit of formatting problems there, but when we first started back in October, started this study, we met with your HR department, and we wanted to, as I mentioned, we wanted to learn as much as we could about your organization. And we asked several questions about why do the study currently, what challenges are you facing, what objectives do you have with regards to this study? And we came up with three key concerns to address and to kind of treat as the overarching umbrella for the objectives of this study and the problems we wanted to help you solve. So those were, we heard that you wanted to have a compensation system that really is competitive and fits within your budget. Competitive not only with your external competitors, but also, and I shouldn't say competitive with your external competitors, and then also internally consistent. And that leads to the next key concern, where we were to look at, take an in-depth look at your positions to ensure that you're paying fairly amongst your positions. So positions are aligned based on minimum qualifications, job responsibilities, and that pay mirrored that. Finally, you are eager to have a system that can be easily maintained over time. We think it's fabulous that you have a commitment to doing these studies on a regular basis, but we also think that you should have a system that is easy to administer and keep up to date, keep current internally, so that you don't have to do these kinds of studies that often. We understand that they're expensive. So this is part of what we'll be offering to you, is training to help your HR team be able to keep this system up to date with changes in your market. I think with that, I'll be turning it over to Mike.
My turn. Thank you. So as Kim had mentioned, one of really the objectives of this study, and we covered this with everybody, in fact, every meeting we've had this slide in it, the objective really is to be externally competitive and internally consistent. So whatever we can do to maintain that and to achieve that is, we know we're on the right path. So I'm going to talk a little about market determination, and then I'm going to move into the structure, but I'm first going to talk a little about where we went, how we did that. So when we look at defining your market, there are really 3 things to look at: location, industry, and size. We're not only comparing you, for example, to just cities, You're competing for employees for other industries. So location is important, size is important, and not any one of those are more important. So generally, you're right there in the middle. So our certified compensation professionals do exactly that and use different data in order to come up with what does the market pay for each of your positions? What does the market pay for each of your positions? And I won't go through all of these, but you can see we use a ton of salary surveys. That gives us data that you can slice and dice right down to counties, to cities, to type of organizations, and you can see we use nonprofit, we use federal, state type things, and then we also have comparable employers throughout the area. And then lastly, on the bottom there, we've been doing this work since 1996, I think, in 1997, and we have a lot of data in the Southwest, and across the country. So those are some of the areas where we found the data to assess what your market is by position. So there are three things you can do in the market. You can either lag the market and pay below, you can match the market and pay right at market, or you can lead the market. We determined up early that we wanted to give you an idea of what matching the market would be. Once you understand what the market is, you can make these decisions, but you can't make them until you really understand what is market. And so I think we've done a good job assessing that, and we'll share how that works in just a minute. So I'm going to bounce ahead and talk a little about, if I can move this up a little bit. I want to talk about this graphic. It's a compensation highway. What we've done is we've created a wage structure, and to start with, we start with the lowest paid position down on the left-hand side, and then we look at the highest paid position, and then we draw a line from one to the other. We did this for exempt, non-exempt, and executive, so you have three different wage structures. So that line is your market trend line. That's what market is going to be. Everybody, all of your positions should be paid somewhere on that line. The question is where and how is it structured? Well, we know that not everybody's going to be paid right at market. You have some people that are entry level. They just got out of school. They've never had a job. We probably want to pay them below market. The question is how much below market? And some people have been in their jobs for years. They're seasoned. They're excellent at their job. They have special skills that you need. You need to be able to pay them above the market. The other question is, how much above market do you want to pay them? You've got to make sure that your responsibility is to be fiduciary responsible for your citizens' money that are being paid. So that's why we draw the top line as a maximum and the bottom line is the minimum. So you've got percentages, which I'll share with you in just a minute, of above market and percentages below. You can see along the bottom are grades. So we slice them up into grades so we can slot them in by market. And this is very important. What we did is we looked at the position and slotted it in this line based on the market of what their position is currently paying. That's a total market-based system. And we'll cover those little dots in just a minute. So I'm going to go back up and show you really what it really looks like. I don't need to go over all these numbers, but you can see that what we did is we spread those. So we've come up with grades non-exempt, any 1 through 5, and the range spread is 35%. That's a minimum to maximum. The midpoint differentials going up are 10%. So you want advancement opportunities to move up in grades. You also want the ability to pay a little bit below market and a little bit above market, and that's what that spread gives you. So these are the numbers, and you don't need to go through those, but you can see that it's a mathematical equation there, and what we really want to draw your attention to is midpoint. That's that mid-dash dot line that you have, that is our market point. So when we go out and search for a job for an accountant, or let's say a custodian or something, and we find that the average is right around $18 an hour, we're going to slot them in any one, grade 1. So that's what drives where they're positioned. We have one for exempt, and we also have one for executive. And all that's market-based. Again, midpoint is the one we want to pay attention to. So with that, I'm going to turn it over, I believe, back to Kim to talk about, after we do the study and find out where they belong, where are you all compared to where you should be on this line? So Kim, do you want to handle that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll add to this, and with the market study, and this is something we want to ensure that is clear, you'll see in, I believe it's Appendix A, a list of all the positions and where they're placed in terms of which grade. Now, an employee could look at that, and I think it's, like, don't quote me on this, but I think in NE4 you may have a maintenance worker and also a marketing coordinator. Now, those are two very different jobs. The key is they have market rates that are similar. So how their job is priced in the market causes them to be in the same grade. So with that, I just wanted to mention that before we moved on. So the compensation highway is something that we kind of get excited about because it gives you so much information in just this one graphic. As Mike mentioned, the dashed line in the middle is midpoint, which just by looking at that, you also know that's what market is for each of those grades listed along the bottom. The minimums are set. We put a lot of thought into what the minimums and maximums should be. As Mike showed you in that previous chart, there is a specific range spread from the bottom to the top, and the midpoint differentials, which are the differences between the midpoints of each grade, are very specific. Once we've drawn this compensation highway, or your structure, on this graph, then we overlay it with a scattergram of your employees' pay rates. So each of those dots represent a rate of pay for your employees. This is a nice graph because it gives you that 35,000-foot view of how healthy is our organization in terms of pay. And quite honestly, you're doing very well. It's clear that you do pay attention to pay for your employees. And the reason I say that is because most of your employees are on the path. Those black dots are employees who are paid relatively close to the midpoint for their job. We do want to draw your attention to the green dots, which are those employees who are paid below the minimum. We believe these are key. These are individuals who can go out into the market and probably find a job that pays more than they're getting paid with the town of Sahuarita. So they're just a little too far from the market rate. We recommend bringing them up to the minimum of the structure. That's the first thing we'll recommend. And we'll show you the cost of doing that shortly. Likewise, on the other end, you see just a couple of red dots, employees that are paid maybe a little higher than we'd want to see in terms of the market. And while they may very much deserve their pay, we also want to pay attention to your tax dollars, and you want to be spending your citizens' tax dollars appropriately. So we don't want to continue pushing the pay of those employees up too high. So we color them red, as in stop. Maybe you don't want to push them up too much higher than where they are. This is the highway for the non-exempt team. Now I've got the exempt team up there, and they look just as great. You've got, I think it's one green dot, one person that's below minimum, and no red dots. So as I mentioned, the key here is we recommend that you bring those green dots up to the minimum. Pay those employees that are marked in green at the minimum of the structure. So what does that cost? On this slide, you'll see a pie chart that shows a breakdown of those same color coding, red, black, and green. And so 20 employees are in green. 20 employees are paid a little too far from market. If you were to bring all of those 20 employees up to the minimum of their grade, it would cost just over $51,000. That's an annual one-time cost to bring them up to the minimum of the grade. If we're talking your total payroll spend, that's about 0.32% of your payroll. I do want to point out these numbers are base salaries. They do not include what you pay in taxes or benefits. It is just a base salary market study. There's another column there that I want to draw your attention to. It says average compa ratio achieved. As you may know, a compa ratio stands for a comparison ratio, and it's a quick determination of how your salary compares to the midpoint. So if you're an individual employee and you're being paid exactly what market is, your compa ratio is 100%. So if you were to bring employees up to the minimum, your compa ratio, you'd be paying your employees at about 95% of market. That's a perfect place to be. We recommend that employers be between 95% and 105% of market. Why do we recommend that? Because you're going to have people who are new, you're going to have people who have been around for a while. It's hard to be right at 100, so this is a lovely range to be in.
The 20 employees that were below, are they across multiple departments or, kind of central to one or another?
They are across multiple departments. We have provided your leadership team with kind of a lot of reports that break this data down, one of which is a departmental report that shows, some departments don't have anyone below minimum, but shows which departments have more. It shows all of the information and shows the comp ratio. So quite a few different reports out there that are accessible to your management team.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. Now, I mentioned bringing those employees up to minimum who are in green. I'm going to go back to the non-exempt highway. If we take a look at, let's just take a look at one of those green dots. Let's look at grade 4, which is 4 from the left. You have a green dot there. Valiant is saying, bring that person up to the minimum. Well, I don't know who these people are, but let's just say that that black dot hanging out there at minimum is someone who's been here a while, and they may even be training that green dot who just started 2 weeks ago. Bringing that green dot's pay up to the same level as the person that's the black dot might not make that person who's training the green dot very happy. That's something that we call compression. It's where employee salaries do not differentiate based on what an employee brings to the job, their experience, their education, their knowledge. We've recommended a plan for compression as well, and I will say this is something where your management team had a lot of input. We actually reviewed 5 different models of how to address compression, and the best plan, the optimal plan that the management team felt is listed. I'm going backwards. I'll go ahead on the slides to show you the recommended compression mitigation plan. This plan looks at where employees were relative to the midpoint in your current structure and ensures that you keep them whole in this new structure so that if they were at, say, a 95% comp ratio in your current structure, we want to keep them around a 95% comp ratio in this new structure. So it's trying to be as fair as possible. We did cap it at midpoint. There are a few other items that are being looked at to ensure that this is a fair plan to everyone. So it's kind of a moving target. Of course, also these numbers can change because you have people coming and going every day. But the bottom line, to address compression in this manner costs about my eyes are going out on me, $293,000. If you add back in the cost of increasing employees to the minimum of the range, that comes out to about $344,000, which is 2.14% of your payroll spend. Again, these are annualized dollars. We will say that we recognize dealing with compression is a lot more expensive typically than just bringing employees up to the minimum. We realize it's a lot of dollars to spend and think about, so hence the reason we had a number of different models provided to you all. We've given you a lot of numbers. We have a few more things to talk about, but before we move on, any questions?
Any questions? I'm following it.
Yes.
But any questions? Yes.
Yeah. So, sir, you said that there are employees that are hired below market. Why would that be?
Oh, sorry.
Well, at the time, we might not know what market was.
Right.
So that's why hiring somebody every 3 years to say, here's market. I assume that you probably had a pretty good feeling that they were close to market. You're close to market because you really look pretty good, as Kim said. We do this all over the country, and this is one of the best highways we've ever seen. So you're doing this, whatever you're doing it right. But every now and then you need to check to say, are we off market? Are we close to market? So I think we've answered that. You're really close to market. And the green dots that we see here, we see some because of rampant wage inflation and the end of COVID that didn't address it like you did. Their numbers are more like up to 10% of payroll per annual just to get green circles up. So I know that's a long-winded answer to your question, but I don't think anybody intentionally said we're going to hire you below market. That's just that's the established price for that job. And we're telling you that particular job, not that individual necessarily, that particular job should be priced a little higher if you want to be closer to market.
And like you said, the market could have changed over the 3 or 4 years, people not coming into the industry, so all of a sudden you had to, ramp up, right? So we might have hired at the time, really close to the bottom of the market, but maybe the highways moved on us from that
Mayor
perspective.
and council, I think I'll also add, when we did our last market analysis, it was at the end of 2021. You guys had just implemented it prior to me coming on with the town. That analysis didn't look at 100% of our positions. And so as well as we tried to hire competitively, obviously if you're not evaluating 100% of your positions, there's inevitably going to be positions that aren't as close to market as we'd like it to be,
Right.
which underscores the importance of every 3 or so years we're retapping and analyzing what the market really is. So.
Thanks.
And
Okay.
if I could,
Yep, one more.
Not done.
Okay, please, Councilwoman.
The red dot, the two with the red dots, is that with overtime pay, or that is just their straight salary?
That's just the straight salary. Does not include overtime pay.
Could you help me understand how that could happen, where somebody would have a red dot?
So somebody could be in their position for 15, 20 years, and over time they just get to the top of their range. One thing that this organization hasn't done historically very often is apply a COLA. And we've talked about this in the past, the difference between a COLA and a merit. And we've leaned heavily on the merit side because we like the idea of pay for performance. Totally understand. But all pay for performance does is move somebody in the range. It doesn't move the range itself. It's the COLA adjustments that end up moving the ranges. I'm sure these guys would end up sharing this with you by way of strategy, but for an organization after having a market study analysis performed, would suggest that to maintain that position, you apply a combination of COLA and merit so that your ranges move with inflation over time, and you don't end up having so much of this.
Right.
So.
And, from my military days, you may not get promoted, obviously, every year, but we always got a COLA. So as you moved along and then you got promoted, it wasn't this huge spread to cover, because if you stay in that position, there's inflation and other things. So the COLA was able to move us forward before we tested, for another rank.
I mean, the problem with COLAs, and as we all know, it's great because it's moving the ranges, which is very important for an organization to maintain compatibility,
Right.
Competitiveness. But it applies to everybody, whether you're performing or
Right.
not. So that's kind of the wrestle. If you're going to apply a COLA, you have to place greater emphasis on the need for the performance evaluation process to hold, to make sure that accountability is stressed.
Right. And then you're looking at a hybrid, right? COLA can move the ranges, but then to keep those highly performing folks motivated and here, then you have the merit, on top of that.
Right. So that's just our history and probably explains why we're seeing some of this. Although to what we've heard from Valiant, a lot of our employees have fallen within the highway, which is a great thing to see, and that's largely due to the fact that the council has been supportive of merit adjustments over the past 4 years, which has kind of helped people move in those ranges, but it just hasn't elevated those ranges because we haven't applied a COLA very often.
Yep.
If I could, Mayor,
Yes.
I'd mention that tomorrow, Stacy is training with your HR department how to maintain this, and it's exactly that. So if you think about moving that range, all of the lines, the mid, max, and min up, You could do that through an initial study with a partial amount, so, or you can do it with the cost of living index.
Right.
So I think cost of living index came in for 2025 around 2.9 or something. If you did the 2.9 and moved it up, those two red circles would drop right inside.
Right.
So you're very, very close. We see some red circles that are way off the chart. And it could have been that they were demoted and they kept their pay or whatever. There's a lot of reasons. But you're just to be commended because you've managed this well. Even coming out of, COVID and the years that we've dealt with high inflation, especially wage inflation, you've managed it well. And so those are really manageable. Those red dots are really manageable. They're going to get fixed pretty quickly.
Right. Thank you. Yes.
One more.
That's okay.
Please.
Okay. Yeah. Could you help, I'm trying to wrap my mind around the concept of compression. Could you go over that again? I want to ensure that I understand fully.
Absolutely, that's a great question.
Thank you.
Compression occurs when we have employees who are paid very similarly, but they bring very different things to the job. So the example I used is if you look at any one of those green dots, they're under the minimum of the pay structure. We're going to say, bring them up to the minimum. They need to at least be at the minimum. Unfortunately, some of those black dots that fall close to the minimum may have, and I don't know who these people are, but it's possible that when you bring up a green dot to the minimum, the people that are being paid currently right close to the minimum, they might bring more qualifications, more experience, more knowledge to the job that they're currently in. So if you have a green dot and a black dot that have very different qualifications or experience or skills being paid the same, it's really unfair to that person that's a little more qualified. So they're compressed. We were actually, I'm going to use a term that I fell in love with last week. We were at another council meeting where the HR director called it squishage. They got squished together. They were too squished together. Their pay did not differentiate enough between the two of them. So I don't know if that helps. It's a little more colorful.
Could I try one as well?
Sure.
When I was on the school board, when they had the mandatory minimum wage, raising, obviously on the school side with facilities and housekeepers, there's more of those people kind of already at that minimum. So when the mandatory minimum wage kicked in, well, you might have been a groundskeeper for 3 years, right? So you're making, I'll make it up, $15. But then when the minimum wage kicked in, that moved that new employee to $15, and you, Diane, are going, well, I've been here 3 years as a groundskeeper. So it costs the district about $1 million to fix the compression to kind of move that range. And you certainly see a lot more of impact on it when you have a lot of people close to that minimum, to that level, to that minimum wage. So all of a sudden you kick them up, well, then somebody's already sitting there. And then you got to move everybody else up, or that person who's been there 3 years isn't probably too happy that all of a sudden I came in and I'm making what you did, and you've been a good groundskeeper for the 3 years. So it's that compression that all of a sudden kicks up, and then now
The
that
squishage.
it squishes.
Yeah. Technical term. So the thing to think about here and why it costs more is the green dots are few. When we start doing compression, more employees are going to get a bump in pay to get them spread through that structure probably where they should be.
To get unsquishy.
To get unsquishied. Thank you. We've got a new term. So did that clear it up?
Yeah.
The compression? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving forward, let's see, where are we? We also have a process in each of our studies. It's called a request for review phase. We presented a preliminary report to the management team, and it was almost a final report, but we gave them what our findings were and asked them to come back, take a look at it with a fine-tooth comb, and if there's anything they wanted to challenge and have us take a second look at the market, we did so. For instance, we know that managers every day are hearing from employees, I saw a job down the road and it paid this, and if they wanted to submit that and have us take a look at that, we did. During this request for review period, we received 29 requests to review our findings a second time. What we'll do is go back, take a look at the market, see if we can find any more data to support what you're asking us to do. If we can, we made that change in the final report and supported whatever the request was. There are times, however, when, as we mentioned before, the key thing that we can bring you in this study is what is the market? What are market rates? So if we can't find data in the market to support our request, we noted that and kept our recommendation the same. So the request to review is essentially just an opportunity, since we're not here every day, you all are, to come back and say to us, please take a second look at what your recommendations were. Following that request for review, or during that request for review period, while your management team was looking at our initial findings, we were also looking at things like your policies, your compensation policies. We've provided the management team with a redlined version of your compensation policies with some recommended best practice wording. And I won't go through all of these, but kind of the key one, and this is what Mike was touching on, is that top green middle guidance for adjusting the structure over time. Stacy will be showing your HR team how to look at the structures compared to market and look at inflation, cost of labor, cost of living, and determine how much to increase the structure by every year, every 2 years. During COVID, we were recommending that people look at their structures at least every year, whereas typically it's closer to 1.5 to 2 years. Fortunately, we're a few years out from COVID, and it's maybe settling down a little bit, so you can look at it every maybe 2 years or so. Additionally, we've provided an implementation plan, what we've seen work at other organizations in moving away from their old structure and adopting this current structure. Of course, the first step is approval. We recognize there are some budgetary talks that will be coming up soon, and that will probably happen during that time frame. Looking at the feasibility of this, our recommendations, and then approving the structure. Next would be to prepare for implementation. Actually choose a date when you're going to implement. Ensure that everything is in order in the back rooms, making sure you've got forms or HRIS systems are set up to handle these changes. All of those things that need to happen in the background before actually flipping the switch and implementing the structure. Also under implementation, we mentioned train supervisors and communicate to employees. Something we pride ourselves on is making this system as easy as possible to not only administer, but also explain to employees so that employees understand why they're being paid what they're being paid. So we recommend having all of this communication happen before you actually flip the switch and implement the program. The first thing we recommend after adopting the program is increasing those employees that are below minimum up to the minimum, and then working with compression. Typically, it takes a little bit longer to increase, to provide compression increases. And in maintenance, we've spoken about that already, that we'll be teaching your HR team to do kind of what we do. If you have new positions, how would they go out and look at the market, slot that position into your structure? We're also providing a tool that is the Valiant Salary Placement Calculator, which is a method. It's actually an Excel spreadsheet with your structure built into it. So when you're hiring, promoting an employee, there is a starting point. Let's put in what the job is. Let's put in what the candidate brings to the job and determine what's an appropriate pay rate to pay them. It's not an end-all be-all, but it's certainly an objective recommendation to help your management team, your HR team determine what's an appropriate pay rate. So we've provided that to them as well. It's something that we guarantee for as long as we're both in business, that if you increase your structure in 2 years, let's say by 3%, all Liliana's got to do is send us an email and say, hey, we upped our structure by 3%. Can you reprogram the salary placement calculator? We will do so at no cost to you. I think, I'm going backwards again. I think that's everything.
Thanks. I know we heard during the budget retreat, like in the PD, we had, people within the scope, but then like commanders and I think lieutenants were way outside. If every department had something like that, was that part of one of those 29 questions or reevaluations to go back out, or How did those all land?
With me.
I think that, yes, I mean, we got probably requests for reviews from several different departments.
If you jump on the microphone, that'd be great. Thank you.
We got requests from several different departments, and probably the PD was one of them, but we also sat and presented this information to the directors as well.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And so they got to look at it before they sent requests for reviews.
Okay.
So we did get 29 of them, and we addressed all of those in the final report with either a yes or a no. I think we approved most of them, but some of them we may not have if there wasn't data to back it up. But
Right.
yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
It looks like obviously you put a lot of work into it. So Shane, from your perspective, having all this data, what will you be looking at when we go to our next retreat on kind of that hybrid, I guess we were talking about before, on, because obviously we only have so much revenue, right? So you have new positions, we have bringing market, we have COLA, we have merit. What do you want or need from us tonight, based on all the information that we've heard, and what will your recommendation, be for us to take a look at and get back to you on, various data points that we were presented?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I also want to express a heartfelt thank you to our partners, our consultants, Valiant, in their efforts to bring to us what is market in considering all of the positions in our organization. One of my goals with a market analysis like this is how can we implement the recommendations as a whole, because all too often an employer that goes out for a project like this gets the results and then decides that they're only going to piecemeal it. One
Right.
year we'll take care of this section, 1 year we'll take care of this section, another year. By the time you get full circle, you're already behind the
Right.
8 ball
You got a lot
again.
more green dots again.
Yeah, and it's just really tough. And so when Valiant said that we went through 5 different scenarios in terms of how do we implement, each one of those had a price tag to it, and so we landed on a 5th hybrid type option that was explained to you earlier, where we're going to bring everybody, if they're under midpoint, then we'll try to maintain their current position in their range. That's going to affect quite a few of our employees, but not everybody. So we still have to crunch our numbers in putting the budget together. We have a couple of tools available to us. The department heads and leadership team have all come together and realized, hey, our priority needs to be taking care of the employees that we have. As you saw during the budget planning retreat, there's obviously demand. There's obviously justification to add more employees to our ranks because our community continues to grow and the demand continues to mount. But in remaining competitive and being able to keep and retain our employees, there's a significant investment that the organization makes when we bring a new employee in. Attrition costs.
Right.
You lose that investment and you have to go back out and retrain again, and there's a pretty hefty price tag with that. So if we can maintain competitiveness in the market as an employer, it just helps us in a number of ways. It helps morale, it helps productivity.
Build culture.
It just helps in a lot of different ways. And so the emphasis this budget year is going to be, okay, it's going to be a larger ask on our employees because demand is growing. But it's an intentional decision to say, okay, rather than go and hire new employees, we're going to take those resources and we'll apply it to this solution. On top of that, that's not going to be enough, and we kind of heard that at the planning retreat. So we're also getting kind of creative. We're assuming that the council is going to also, once again, be supportive of a merit adjustment for the employees. We know that the state approved a minimum wage increase that was effective January 1st, and that was about a 3.1% increase. That means that compression is really
compression,
playing out, that
right.
we talked about, right?
Right.
If we're not moving our ranges, but now we have to hire at this level because that's minimum wage, there's a possibility that we're hiring new people in at a higher salary or hourly rate than what we hired, hired somebody last November.
Right.
Right? And that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so, we're going to recommend taking some of those resources and applying a COLA. I can't tell you what percentage right now because we got to see how the numbers play out. But taking some of those resources and applying a COLA in the first of the year, so July 1st, to try to soften the impacts of the inflationary number that hit us in January. And then next January, we'll take a balance of that allocation of merit, put it into a merit for pay to perform, and then take resources that we've discovered, that we've found through scaling back on daily operations, so that we can pay for the entire implementation, and we'll have that effective January 1 as well, so that, which is a strategy, because then you're only facing half of a year of financial impact and allowing yet another year to recover from that.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, but that's our strategy. And so an outcome from tonight would be making sure that your questions are answered from what you've been presented, and then knowing a bit about our strategy and so that when you see that come to you in the form of a recommended budget, you'll know where it's coming from and why, and hopefully it'll be presented in a way that garners your support and we can move forward in terms of a budget.
Thanks. Well, I know a lot of work, goes into putting all this together on behalf of staff, and having this data, obviously, to help them, is very helpful. So I would anticipate being presented something that we're probably pretty comfortable with, because we have to have a balanced budget, right? And we have to, I know you're engaging with the employees on something that's balanced with what can we afford, and kind of the direction that we want to go on retention and those types of things.
I mean, I will tell you that, some of our highest attrition has occurred over the years in our police department. You heard during the budget planning retreat that recruitment has been highly successful over the last 12 to 18 months. But I would argue that it's been improving for the last several years. This study has resulted in a recommendation that further is going to help that cause in terms of the starting salary for our officers.
Right.
And it's going to, so right now, I think we're at a $57,000 number in terms of starting salary for our officers. If you look at where Oro Valley is, now Oro Valley has a labor agreement that forces the organization to be 95% of the market, and I think they look at the state and Phoenix area as well as this area. They are always increasing, and it's always this cyclical battle that occurs in terms of, hey, where do our officers start? And I think they're around 64,000. This study, I believe, puts us around 63,000. And so if you look at where Marana is and where Tucson and where Oro Valley is, it's right where we ought to be in terms of our size of an organization in comparison. And so I'm really pleased I believe I have those numbers, at least in ballpark. But the outcome is going to really help us in terms of our continued efforts to address the attrition, make sure that we're at a healthy rate, and that we're staying competitive. And I'm pretty excited about that.
Right. Thank you. Any further discussion? I know we're going to have, another 2-day retreat, and then, the final budget will come to us. But is everybody comfortable kind of what was presented and the direction that staff is moving from there based on their own internal conversations they're having with department heads and staff?
Liliana, did I miss anything? AC, Beth, from a budget team standpoint? Okay, all right.
Nope. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Safe travels back.
Thank you.
Having no more further business, we're adjourned. Dum-dum.